Takalosh, Boker Or. Masechet Zevachim, Daf Yomi, Daf Tet Vav Amud Aleph 15a1. Says the Gemara. We were just talking about now, if Shali Tikuna, if Shali Tikuna, which means if we're going to say now, Holacha Shelo Beregel is not considered Holacha, meaning if you do not transport with your feet. So therefore, no, let's say you pass on, you do a pass on, right? Everyone's doing a football, passing it on, pass along the thing. So you have a whole bunch of Kohanim, they're passing along, but nobody's actually moving their feet. If you just told me now that it's not considered transporting, it's not considered holacha, so therefore can you fix it or not? You've already done it. You took it all the way to the mizbeach, but you didn't move. So now you fix it. Can you fix it or not? So Tashema. No, can you fix it in the sense that now you didn't do holacha? So he says Tashema kibela kasher v'natana pasul yachzila kasher, which means that the kavanah of the Mishnah is you give it backwards, and then again you give it to the kosher. So therefore you see from here that it does exist a concept of, right, making it kosher. Right? It does exist. Right? You could come and you could fix it. He says, but even if the kavanah is going to be that he's going to accept it, right? So he says it's also going to answer it up. So he says, if you're going to tell me that you can't fix it, it became pasul. Meaning, if you came and you gave it to somebody pasul, so what do we say? We said you have to go back and give it to somebody kasher, and then you continue all along. Now it's mashma that if you can't fix it, so then kaddish, there's nothing else to do. Yeah? So he says...
See, we could fix it.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah? So he says like this. Mi savra dekai zar gavai. He comes and he says, are you going to tell me now that we're talking about that it's going to be, right, in such a concept that there's going to be a pasul there? Lo, dekai zar barai. That the zar is on the outside. So it means he's actually outside of where the kosher one is. So therefore, when he's going to come and give it to him, that's actually putting it further away from the mizbeach, and therefore it's not considered holacha whatsoever. V'itman, and it was also stated in Yochanan, holacha shelo beregel pesula. Yeah, it's going to be psula. So alma, so you see from here, lo efshar letakana. Okay, fine. So now he comes and he says, right, like this. Eitvei. Rav Nachman Lula. So Rav Nachman comes and he asks Sula. Nishpach min hakli ala rispa v'asafo. What happens if now it comes out and it's spilled, and now you gather it together, so it's still kosher? So says the Gemara. 1 second. If it's spilled, so now if right now it was done holacha lo beregel because it's spilled, you could still gather it together and put it back. So therefore, you see that holacha shelo beregel does not disqualify it. So answers the Gemara. What do we do with kishet? What does that mean? The blood went outside, which means that it went further away from the mizbeach. So therefore, it didn't go towards the mizbeach. Meaning like this. Everyone's looking. I have it here. If it spills and it now goes towards the mizbeach, there's part of it that was not done holacha. Because when I come over here and I pick it up, there was a certain distance that it was not done holacha. So therefore, you see that it's still kosher. How could it be kosher? So the Gemara answered, it went backwards, meaning it went further away from the mizbeach, not closer to the mizbeach. So therefore, there's still holacha. Okay? So lebarai nafik legavai lo ayil. He says what? It can only go outside, not inside. Well, it's magic, right? When it falls, it could only fall towards outside of the mizbeach and not towards closer to the mizbeach. How does that work? So answers the Gemara, midron. It was like a slant towards the mizbeach. So therefore, that's why it's right, or the other way around. So that's why it's going further away from the mizbeach. If you want, you can answer biguma, right? It fell into like a little tiny like ditch, like a little tiny hole. So therefore, it didn't go anywhere. Meaning like it just stayed there. It's not going any direction. Or if you want, you can answer b'smicha, that the blood already started to coagulate. When it becomes more congealed, right, like more thick, so therefore it doesn't move around that much. Remember, blood, yes, it becomes like more thick until it dries up. Okay? V'kapal tana lashminan. So he comes and he says, right, v'kapal tana lashminan. So the tana is coming right? So he comes and he says this. So he says the Tana is coming to and saying a double why to teach you all these different cases, right? Meaning, why did I have to come and start telling you so many different answers? And furthermore, just say. So Tufta, you're right. That's a good question. Meaning that we could have asked and already differentiated that even when it fell on the floor, why over there didn't we make such a differentiation? Meaning we could have made a differentiation that when it fell on the floor, it all depends how it fell. If it fell towards the Mizbeach or didn't fall towards the Mizbeach. So therefore, this is actually a question on Ula that he wanted to say that if Shalit Taken, it's not true. You could always be Taken. Okay? This is a big musar. That you're always able to litaken. You're always able to fix things. Yeah? Yeah? So it's a big musar. Okay? You with me? תמיד אפשר לתקן. אפילו בן אדם שכל הזמן בטלפון שלו. Yeah? אפשר לתקן אותו. Yeah? Itmar, it was stated. הולכה שלא ברגל. We're talking about now holacha without using your feet. Is a machloket Rabbi Shimon v'Rabbanan. Be'holacha Rabbati, holacha gdola, which is basically taking the chulam no pliga the psula, it's going to be pasul. Ki pliga be'holacha zutarti. There we're talking about hoshatat adam to the mizbeach. Meaning we're not talking about mamash taking the blood to the mizbeach, because that for sure is not a machloket. Everybody says that it's going to be pasul. We're talking about where you're already there, and then you're just doing hoshatat adam just to sprinkle it. That's what we're talking about. So Machku Aleb Marava, they started laughing at him. He said, "What are you talking about then? Chatata of the psula machshava Shimon. How do you find a chatata of that is going to be pasul? Remember, how did you do chatata of? How did you do? Where did you do the shchita of? Already on the mizbeach. How do you do shchita of? Melika, exactly. So if it's done on the spot, yeah. So therefore, how do you find the case that it's going to be pasul? According to you, the only psul is if you have to go from where you do the shchita, walking to the mizbeach. But on the mizbeach itself, that's where the machlok. According to Rabbi Shimon, there's no machshava which is posel. So he says, so how are you going to be posel by chatataof? So he says, if it's going to be before that she took the blood, lokrumu, it's nothing. If it's going to be after the blood already comes out, you already did a mitzvah. So what's the case then? So my kushia, what's the question? Dilma mi the padish ve'ad demat al mizbeach. He says maybe it's from the blood when it's coming out until it gets to the mizbeach. That's meaning it's in the air. That's when it's going to disqualify it. What happens right now? He's doing the mazeh me'achatat. Mazeh is sprinkling the blood of the chatat. We're talking about the oaf. Remember the bird. And what happened was that it caught his hand, right, until the blood didn't even get to the mizbeach. What's halakha? Do we say now that it becomes a balmum? And therefore now he became, meaning he starts doing it, and all of a sudden he got cut, and all of a sudden now it's a problem. No. Let's say the blood already started coming out, but he niktya becomes balmum. So the question is, but the blood didn't come to the mizbeach yet. Yeah, well, exactly, but the blood didn't come to the mizbeach. So Elmaleh, he says psula. It's pasul. Umaytama v'hizav v'natam bainan. You have to do the hazaa and the netina, which means that it has to be the same. Which means, what do you mean it has to be the same? We learn from here the fact that they're brought down together. We're learning that when there has to be just like the netina has to be on the mizbeach by somebody kosher. So to here, as long as the blood did not get on the mizbeach, it's still not kosher. It was like before. So kiatur of papa is pasul. So kiatur of papa v'ravunu Yeshua miberav amri hainu chucha. That's the funny part about it. They don't argue by the walking from the shchita until the mizbeach, but they are going to argue by olachar bati plige. They do. Right? For sure, if it's going to be halacha, right? If it's going to be the small walking, then for sure it's going to be pasul. When it's machloket olachar bati, that means the machloket is not when we thought before that according to everybody you needed olachar bati. Rabati means a lot of walking, right? So you understand. So we would have thought to say that only when it's going to be that there's a lot of walking, right? What is a lot of walking? From the shchita until the mizbeach. That is going to be lechule alma. So when is the machloket? Only in the case of halachazutarte, which is a small walking, which is already the sprinkling of the blood in the mizbeach. We said it's not true. Oh, look over here. So he said, you're right, we have to flip it. According to everybody, it becomes pasul, bolachazutarte. When is the machloket? Bolachar bati.
Elmaleh.
Says the Gemara, "Holicho zar v'chziro kohen v'chazar v'holicho." What happens if the blood was done with the holacha by a zar, a stranger, and then the kohen took it backwards, and then again he did the halacha? So pligi be'Rabbi Yana, Echad Amar, one of them says kosher, one of them says it's going to be pasul, right? More the savar. One of them says if shal tikuna, but you could fix it. More savar lo shal tikuna. Holicho kohen v'chziro v'chazar v'holicho zar. What about the opposite now? It was done bechsher, and then a zar took it back and brought it back. So I'm Rav Shimi Barashi livrei machshid pasul. The one that says it's going to be kosher now, it's going to be pasul. The one that says it's pasul, who's going to now is going to be kosher. Rav Amar says no. Even according to the Mandar the pasul, it's pasul here, right? My tama, what's the reasoning? That tzarich because you need tedvav mubet. You need latmuye. What is latmuye? The maaseh of bringing it, right? You have to bring it b'chazara. So now, how do you bring it b'chazara? At the end of the day, you brought it b'chazara through the pasul. So how does it work? So Amaleh Ravashi. You have to come, you have to fix it. How do you do it now? So Machlok Rabbi Eliezer Rabbanan Ditran Rabbi Eliezer Omer Hamalech B'Gon Shetzich Lalech Machshava Poselet. If you're going to go in a place where you need to go, the Machshava is going to be posel the korban. Makom she'en tzarich lalech, but you don't have to go. So Machshava Poselet. Amarav Rav says the kol modin shekiblu v'chutz yichnisu b'fnim. If you accepted it outside and you brought it inside, right? Zei luch shetzarich lalech. You have to walk. So therefore, kiblu b'fnim v'tzarich chutz. If you accepted it inside, you walked outside. You don't need to do it. So therefore, there's no problem. Meaning, if the guy came and he took it the wrong direction, he accepted the blood and now he took it outside. You don't need to take it outside. So therefore, it's not going to be posel. It's only going to be posel if you're taking it to the right direction. If you're going on the right direction, that's when it's going to be posel. Machshava. Anyway, he's going on the right direction. Anyway, it's not going to have an effect. It's nothing. He's in the wrong direction. He's in the wrong place. Wrong place, wrong time, wrong direction. Wrong vayelech. Yeah? So he says, he brought it in and then he took it out. You have to bring it back by Bechsher. So 8 Abaye asked if you accept it on the outside and brought it inside, right? That's hiluch shetzich la'alech. Right? If you accepted the blood on the inside and then you took it outside, you don't need it. So he says, so if you brought it back in, then you need it then. So you're right. If that's the way that it was taught, that's the way it was taught, and therefore I can't push it off. So therefore, according to that, Rabbi Eliezer is not actually a De'ah Shlishit in the Mishnah. He's exactly like Tanakama. That basically, since Rabbi Shimon says that any olacha which you could be mevatel is not considered olacha, Rabbi Eliezer comes to argue, right? He says over here, and he says like Tanakama, Shekol olacha drusha l'kerev adam is also considered olacha, and therefore it's going to be posel. Hadran alach kol zevachim. Says the new Mishnah. Okay, new chapter 2. Yeah, Perek Sheni. New Mishnah says, Kol ha-zevachim shekilu daman zar, onen, right? Or tvul yom, mechusar kipurim, mechusar begadim, shelo achatz yadayim v'reglayim. Arel, tameh, omer al gabe kalim, right? Yoshev, omer al gabe kalim, gabe bema, gabe raglo. Pasal, right? Is going to be posel. Meaning, if you accepted the blood, doesn't matter whether you're a stranger, meaning you're not a kohen, or you're an onen. That means you're a kohen, but you're an onen. Tvul yom means that he was tameh, he did tvilah, but he didn't finish the mechusar kippurim. He still needed the kapara. Or mechusar kippurim, that he still needed to do the kapara, right? Because basically you have to have harev shemesh, and then you also need to bring a korban. The korban is mechusar kippurim. Harev shemesh is after the tvul yom. Harev shemesh means that after you do tvilah in the morning, you still have to wait until the nighttime. That's harev shemesh. If the sun goes down, now you become tahor. But you still also need kapara. The kohen here, we're talking about the kohen that he became tameh. Mechusar begadim. What happens if the kohen doesn't have his uniform? Some people they come in pajamas. Thing. You have to have a uniform. What are you laughing? Yeah. Or shelo rachatz yadayim v'raglayim. Yeah, he didn't do rechitzat yadayim v'raglayim. Yeah, he didn't do kiddush yadayim v'raglayim. Yeah, Arel, he doesn't have a circumcision. Yeah, Tameh, he's Tameh. Yoshev, he was sitting down during the avodah. Or he was standing on top of a kelim or bema or a chavero, pasal, it's going to be pasul. Kibel besmol. Huh? The last part of the Mishnah is kibel besmol. If he accepted it with the left hand, we're talking about the blood. So then it's going to be pasul. The reason why we took it out was because of Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says that if you accept it with the left hand, you're going to be kosher. Says the Gemara Zar Minal. And how do we know that a Zar cannot accept the blood? The Tani Lewi, because Lewi taught. Bnei Israel. He says Lemutuma. Why did it say Bnei Israel? What is it coming to exclude? If you're going to tell me to exclude women, So he says, Korban Nashim betum'ah, right, karev. He says, what? Can you come and tell me now that the men are going to come and push off with tum'ah? Ela lemute of de kochavim, to mute a goy. So hash tatzitz lo menatzeh. So we already know that the tzitz is not going to be menatzeh on a tum'ah that it happened with a goy, right? For example, it became tameh. Ta'amar mor uverei kochavim memshel b'mezilo urtza betum'ah karev. So he says, Elachi kama v'nazu k'shem niseh v'lo yichalalu. Which means that they cannot be mechalel, which means that here he was the zar she'avad, he's mechalel at the kochim, and he made it pasul. He disqualified it for the fact that he's a zar. Okay? The Rabbi Shmuel Tana, but Rabbi Shmuel come and they say, no, there's another learning. We have a kavachome. He says, from where? From a balmum. Just like a balmum is allowed to eat kochim, but if he does the service, he's mechalel da avodah. Again, he's allowed to eat, but if he does the service, it's pasul. So zar, he's not allowed to eat at all. So enodin shim avad chelal. Obviously, if he does the service, it's going to be pasul.